It's a 21st century gold rush. Thousands of people are risking it all in hopes of striking it rich, flipping houses. When it works, it's incredible.
Netted over $300,000.
I'm actually standing here in Cabo, Mexico.
You can make more money on one good flip than most people earn in an entire year.
I just made $26,000 yesterday.
Earn nearly $18,000.
But it's not as easy as it looks, and all too often new flippers make huge mistakes,
all the way to them.
structure horrible deals, and lose it all.
That I can be the one.
No, honey.
It can be devastating.
We need help.
Think you can save that or no?
But that doesn't happen to me. I'm Phil Pustejovsky.
How many want to be financially free?
One of the most experienced house flippers alive.
$300,000 in profit.
I won because I got the double lot, 1,800 square feet.
Having been a part of over 2,000 deals spanning all across North America, and I've made millions along the way. And over the past decade, I have mentored complete beginners and transformed them into real estate money-making machines. Thanks so much for putting $250,000 in my pocket,
Thanks,
sir.
My pocket too.
In fact, many of the most successful house flippers you'll see out there got their start with me.
You made $500,000.
I'm excited. Welcome to Freedom Mentor Live. I'm Phil Pustejovsky. I'm joined by two of my associates, part of the Freedom Mentor team, Busch, Devin Sheehan. We've got a great event for you here tonight. It is going to be about answering your questions, but also we're going to cover some of the hottest topics impacting real estate right now in today's market, from Trump's big, beautiful bill to AI to interest rates to even the seasonality that kids are going back to school. Thanks for joining us here the Thursday before a big Labor Day weekend. Brian, welcome to the Freedom Mentor Live.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
And Devin, welcome.
Thank you, Phil. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a lot of fun and to get to. Also, thank you all for answering in the registration what you wanted us to share, because a lot of you were interested in Trump's big, beautiful bill and that impact on real estate. So I think we should dive in and start there. All right, we'll start with you, Devin. What are your thoughts on the impact of Trump's big, beautiful bill on real estate?
I think it's going to be a huge impact, obviously, with Trump being a real estate developer himself, going to be very favorable towards the real estate terms, especially if we can get 100% bonus depreciation back in there. So this is a time to be an investor, if ever, and love to see some of the things that have been outlined in that bill.
Absolutely. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I agree. We're going to see other pieces besides bonus depreciation, the qualified business income. We're going to be looking at Section 179 being extended. So there's a lot of great things that are going to only help us as real estate investors and really take what we do and just make it better.
Well, it was very controversial as it was about to get passed. And so we're not going to bring this into any sort of political discussion. We're going to talk about the facts of what it really means for real estate investors. And, a great way in which to assess the validity of what we're sharing is simply go to a pundit that doesn't like the bill, doesn't like that it got passed, and you'll read that it'll say about the only winners of this bill were the real estate investors. So even the starchest critics still see what it does for real estate investors. So Devin touched on bonus depreciation. I put together a video several years ago on a little known secret or shortcut to real financial freedom. And in that video, I talk about how if you're a full-time real estate investor, and they call it a real estate professional for tax purposes, that you can use the depreciation from your rental property to go as a deduction against your ordinary income. Now, that's such a big deal because what it allows you to do is to build wealth by acquiring rental property.
Yep.
And certain improvements you make to that rental property can be fully deducted in that calendar year against your flipping income, against your, if you're a real estate agent, income. And so that's what that video describes. And I encourage you to take a look at that. And one of our team members might be able to go find that. Little known shortcut to freedom is what it's called. And maybe we can post that up there in the comments. So that bonus depreciation, literally on July 7th, I personally started a big project simply because that law changed, got passed. So right then and there, I'm just one person. Instantly, what happened was I began in the improvements of a project that those improvements are going to span over $800,000. So that's $800,000 going into all kinds of different trades within the construction industry. And ultimately, what that's going to do is produce a type of rental property that's going to bring me a whole lot of income for a long time. So right there is a specific example of how 100% depreciation is going to help you as an investor, especially if you're a full-time investor or real estate professional for tax purposes. But Brian, touch on a little bit more when you were talking about that business deduction, which is separate from depreciation.
Right, because the qualified business income deduction is going to allow for 20% of your net rental income written off. And of course, I'm not going to get into what your CPA should be helping you with, but incentives like that encourage investors to go out and buy more properties. That creates more activity in the market. That's good for everyone. I think a lot of people are going to benefit if you get off the sidelines. I've done the same thing. I've got my marketing cranking back up. Because I don't want to just show people how to do it. I need to be busy doing deals as well. So it's a great incentive.
Absolutely. So Devin, what are you predicting that because of 100% depreciation, because as that qualified business deduction, what does that do on a more maybe global standpoint of the real estate market?
I just think it gives it encouraging investors to jump back in and buy more. It encourages people that have been thinking about buying real estate to jump in and buy more because, with the bonus depreciation, I mean, if you have very strong W-2 income or W-2 income, it can go against, your net income or your taxable income. So bonus depreciation, I mean, in 2020, I bought a commercial building. We accelerated 280,000 of the depreciation against my net income. So my tax bill went from 100,000 to 25,000. I mean, that's the power of it while collecting cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, what I think is going to be interesting is I think a lot more building is going to happen. Not so much home builders because they're in and out. They're not building rental property necessarily, but it's the real estate investors that own rental property from single family homes all the way to office buildings. And I think what's going to happen is you're just going to see, like we saw before, an overall improvement in the economy because so much more money is going back in to all of those different trades, all the different materials that are being purchased. And I think ultimately that creates a better environment for buying and of selling of real estate. So I only see a net win. But you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to hear from our audience. Okay, so we've given our opinions, and I love hearing the feedback from everybody out there. And you are more than welcome to disagree with us, right? Because we are open to great ideas. We're open to feedback. That's one of the things that's made us great as a mentoring team. We try to come from a humble approach that we don't have it all figured out. We have our predictions. We have our guesses. We get them right sometimes. We don't get them right all the time. So there in your chat, you might be on YouTube right now. You might be on Facebook, man, on different platform. Go ahead and chat in what you think this big, beautiful bill, what you think the impacts are going to be on real estate. And let's hear what we get from the audience here. Well, as those are, I think we have a delay on our end, so it might take a little bit for that to come in. So please throw that in. I think if you look at it from a negative perspective, if I can come from a negative perspective, I do think real estate investors need to get moving because with the bonus depreciation, because of the encouragement to get into real estate, the fact that things slowed down a little bit for the last couple of years as the interest rates climbed, it's been a little easier to find deals because they're, with the interest rates as high as they are, and there's been some sellers that just want to cash out. I think there's going to be another rush to buy properties again. And yes, that's good if you own the property, but what if you're one of those people that feels like you're a day late and a dollar short? You're always just missing that next deal. Well, now'd be the time to get moving, because as this starts to ramp up, as people start to make their adjustments, especially as we get into next year, and they're saying to themselves, well, my accountant just told me I need another deduction. I need to go buy some real estate. I think it's going to be only the smartest of the investors are going to know how to find the great deals. So now would be a good time to get off the sidelines. If I could come up with anything negative, it's you better get moving, because there's going to be a lot more competition for people to buy properties. All right. Well, please chime in with your thoughts on the big, beautiful bill. Meanwhile, we're going to jump to the next topic. All right. So AI, artificial intelligence, it's certainly been a gigantic impact on our overall society. And it's happening so fast. I'm sure many of you are starting to get spam calls and other things, and they sound very real. So certainly AI is moving quickly to change our society. But let's start with you, Devin. How is it changing real estate, and how should investors make the most of AI?
Yeah. So, Phil, from our perspective and my perspective, AI can't replace conversations with sellers. The deals we're doing still require a human element to take place. Sellers are ultimately going to trust you to do the transaction, and that you can actually execute and help them get from maybe some of the trouble that they're going through, right? The way you really take advantage of AI, like some of the things that I'm doing with AI, is I may put together an inspection report into ChatGPT and ask it to outline the report. I may ask for certain specifics of what surrounds a property address, like ABC address. Tell me what the pros and cons are that surround this area, right? So I'm using it as a tool, but it's not going to go out there and find me deals. And it's not going to go out there and talk to sellers. It's a tool. And the better you use the tool, it can really shorten the time you spend on certain things within your business, but it's not going to be the business for you.
So you're using it to provide you with certain ideas or maybe some due diligence.
Yeah.
But is it something you take as gospel, or is it something that you verify and you confirm, but it gives you ideas?
Yes, I would say it's not gospel, right? It gives you the right path. It gives you the right idea. Then you must verify. But using it in a way where you take what it gives you and then verifying it, or it gives you an idea and then drilling down on that idea, is where I see really the benefits for it. It's not the end all be all.
Yeah. So, great points on that. You all please post what you think AI is going to do to real estate. Post what you think the best uses are, because one of the great things that you have here on this live experience is that you get to hear from us three, and we spend all day, every day, not only in real estate on our own deals, but coaching and mentoring others. But you got some smart people in the audience too, so let's hear from their thoughts as well. All right, Brian, what are some things that come to mind with AI and real estate investing right now?
Really just echoing a lot of what Devin shared. I think from an overall standpoint, we want to use it as a tool. It's not going to replace, it doesn't need to try to replace efforts. There's some AI tools out there that will actually try to clone you and answer for you and, kind of simulate you taking action. But I think that's what everyone's on edge about right now. AI is not real. And right now we can at least tell when we see videos that something's not right there. But as it gets more and more deceptive almost, I think that's going to create more distrust with sellers. And we work primarily with sellers who have a big problem with the most expensive asset they're probably ever going to own. And when they have a problem and can't go the traditional route, they reach out to us, not because they have a ton of options. They have very few. And if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, you need to make sure you trust who you're just about to dive in with, because you have a limited amount of time perhaps before you're going to get foreclosed on, or you've got to move to get to that new job, or whatever the case may be, maybe before you have to file bankruptcy. So I think it's so important what Devin pointed out, the real side, the people side of this business. We need to be ready to step in there, use it as a tool when it helps you to research, it helps you to verify more information. But as was already said, we want to trust to some degree and point us down the path, but we need to verify. This is a very hands-on business. So we'll use it to automate, but we're not going to let it take over.
Absolutely. By the way, you all, you can ask questions by texting that number. So as we get into the question asking session of tonight, text your questions to that number there. So Ricky, thank you so much for your comment that says AI Blaster sets appointments and seems to be working well. Now, there's a lot of tools out there that can set appointments, but I think I'm going to perhaps surprise you all a little bit with this. So both Devin and Brian were touching on this important subject of trust. You have to be real careful. And our style of investing is we work directly with sellers. We call them off-market sellers. They're not listed. It's not a foreclosure that everyone knows about. The key is we work with sellers on deals that no one else knows about. And so because they're off-market sellers, there's both the benefit that we don't have competition. There's the drawback that they are skeptical. They are concerned that we might be trying to take advantage of it. And so what we have to do is go way above and beyond to develop the right trust. Now think about this for a second. Think if you had a serious problem with your plumbing and your toilet was overflow. That's a bad, don't scratch that. This is live. Okay. Your bathtub's overflowing. Okay. And so the water is pouring out of your bathtub and it's on the second floor. If you call a phone number and you know it's AI, what are you going to do? You're going to immediately call the next 24/7 plumber to help you until you get someone that says, hello. Oh man, you got a problem. I can be there in 5 minutes. I'll be there. Like you already have developed work. You got a real person. You just talk to them. They're going to help you with that plumbing problem. When you allow AI to set your appointments and you're dealing with a true blue off-market seller, you've already created a disconnect that you don't even know you've created. Because people know it's AI. They do. Right? I mean, AI has been picking up phone calls for 10 years, long before it was mainstream. Right? I mean, you called your airlines before, and they said, they had these voice prompts, and you got annoyed, and you just wanted to talk to somebody, so you'd say, agent, right? So you've got to be real careful there. Now, some of you might be using certain marketing techniques where AI is basically just blasting a whole bunch of homeowners and then you're setting appointments that way. And I suppose that could potentially make sense. But we're not going in that direction. We actually go the opposite direction. We want to be real. That's why we're live here right now. Just so you know, we're real. We're not trying to automate everything. We know where reality is more important than creating automation. But business owners love the idea of more AI. They love the idea they're going to be able to do less and the machine does it all for them. But customers don't like it. My wife called Domino's the other day. She knew it was AI and she immediately hung up. And so she called right back and got a real person. So, excuse me, she didn't call Domino's. She called Papa John's and got the real person. That's what happened. So we're all about using AI where it makes sense, but being real careful about becoming more automated than you need to be when it comes to connecting directly with sellers. So thank you so much again, Ricky, for your point, because I'm not saying that it's not always applicable, but we're real sensitive to that right now. We want to be real because when those sellers feel the realness, you'll do more deals. Some of our most successful graduates are people that have been in our program, that have been mentored by our team and have made at least $500,000 in net profits after all expenses, net, 500,000. There's a whole lot of them out there across America. In fact, you can go to our website and watch interviews we do about every week with them, so you can learn more. Well, some of them do television in the markets where television marketing works real well. And there's not that many that do. But they have discovered, and was something that we shared with them, that they get this instant lift in trust. Because now when they go to a homeowner's property to look at it, that seller is starstruck. They're like, oh my goodness, you're the person from on TV. And instantly the trust is there. They're able to negotiate great deals. Their best deals come from their TV leads. And so trust is huge. It's going to become the new currency. And I've spent quite a bit of time on this because I think it's a big topic. And I again, want to hear y'all's thoughts as well. And they're in the chat, in the comment. But be aware that there's going to be a backlash if you go too far down the AI road when it comes to dealing directly with sellers. You want to build that trust. You want to be real. You want to go to the property. You want to be a real person. You want to build a real relationship with them. And what ends up happening is you'll do more deals and you'll make a lot more money. All right, I've done a lot of talking on that one. Brian, you want to add anything to that?
I actually would. One of the things that I think, and this might be a little brash, but what we don't want AI to ultimately do is make us dumber. And I say that to the extent that if you're new to this business and AI is your resource that you're relying on for everything, as was kind of hinted at earlier, it's not always 100% accurate. And some have said that it can tend to have a bias to tell you what you'd like to hear. So, I want to make sure that, the seller you're talking about that really has that measure of trepidation. I think two things are critical. One is going to be your competence, right? Your ability to answer their questions. And the other one that goes with that is confidence. And I think you get that when you have the right training, you have a mentor, you have the experience to be able to assure that seller, hey, we've been there, done that before. We can take your problem and get you to the finish line. When we used to do short sales decades ago, we said, hey, we can't guarantee anything, but if this can be done, you're working with the best people in the country that can get it done. So I think just that side of, again, use it as a tool, but you need to be prepared as an investor to really know this business and be able to get the answers. Sometimes the apprentices we work with will say, well, gosh, can you be sitting next to me? Because they're going to ask me a question I'm not going to know the answer. And I've told them, hey, you can be confident that you have us to go to. Hey, that's a great question, Mr. Seller. You know what? My partner's the best one to answer that. Let me get the information. And then you just dive back into more of your questions. So again, I think working with the right mentor, having the right training, so very critical to the competence and confidence that you're going to need to do this business.
No, amen. Thank you, Brian. A great point. We don't want AI to make us dumber. I saw a quick clip from Jerry Steinfeld. He did the graduation speech at Duke University in late May, early June this year. And that's what he said about AI. He said it's making our world a lot dumber because people just go to AI for all of their answers as opposed to thinking through it critically. And AI is not going to invest in real estate for you. And you should be thankful for that, because if it did invest for you, there would be no investing opportunities left. AI would more quickly handle your problem, handle the deals than anybody else could. Anything else, Devin?
Yeah, I was going to jump into, over the years from coaching all of these students before they come into the program, a lot of them put together this thought process of like AI being able to make offers for them and be able to predict the sales price. I mean, they put a lot of reliability into that. And the truth is, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. The reality is if you're going to put deals together with sellers, there's no AI that can tell you the price, right? There's so many things that impact the price of a home, from location to a bus stop to a train behind it to quartz countertops to Formica countertops to condition of the cabinets, the conditions of the roof. These are things where the skill set is developed. And if it sounds so easy of AI will submit my offer and I'll get the house, it's too good to be true. It does take work. It does take effort. So you got to be very careful too as well.
Yeah, great point. Remember, y'all, Zillow tried AI offers. They lost $1 billion. Open Door lost a gajillion dollars. They went public, and now they've become like a normal investor. They offer 70 cents or less on the dollar. Redfin, they went out of business using AI to, their branch of their operation that was doing home buying went out of business trying to use AI to make their offers. And they did, a million different data points between the countertops and the cabinet types, and it didn't work. And so, yeah, great point, Devin. All right, y'all, please post your comments on what you think AI is going to do to real estate as well, and and the impacts it's going to have. All right. By the way, if you have questions, text that to 786-840-7170. And the way we have it set up, you text it there, and then we're able to get it here up on the screen and post it. Okay, so there's a lot more to cover. Next, interest rates. Interest rates have been gradually coming down. The Fed chair apparently was at some sort of an event in the last week or so and seemed to hint at the idea that they'd be open to maybe dropping the rates at their next meeting. Obviously, that may or may not happen, but the market reacted to that, and mortgage rates have come down a little bit. By the way, I want to share this with you all. I'm going to try to do this here, and that is I'm going to share my my screen, and I'm going to show you what I think is a helpful tool when you are trying to figure out the interest rate. So often I talk to people about interest rates, and they wonder where I get my information from. Mortgage News Daily. What an easy tool this is. Almost every article y'all will ever read about interest rates, they reference Mortgage News Daily for the interest rates. And so, yeah, what you see right here is interest rates are at about 6.5. And you can see how they've been coming down. They've been coming down here. And that's pretty exciting. So interest rates are coming down, and the hope is that they will continue to come down. And so, yeah, let's talk about, with it coming down and the hope of it coming down even further, what impact that's going to have. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen there. Devin, we'll start with you. What impact do you think the current slight drop in rates and perhaps more drop in rates is going to have on real estate?
Well, I think it's going to give, as the rates drop, it's going to give sellers more confidence to finally consider listing their home and selling. You know, when you have a 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 interest rate and you're going to go to 6.5 or 7, it's hard to make that move. But as it comes down, you're going to see more inventory come on the market because the sellers created a lot of equity. They'll be able to move that equity to their next house and feel more confident as that rate drops. Now, for people that are looking for houses right now, that are waiting for the rates to drop, yeah, so is everybody else, right? So when the rates drop, I expect prices to go back up because the demand will be there. There's already demand, at least in the Northeast right now. I know that's changed in other markets. There's less new construction and inventory being created in the Northeast where I am, but that's what I see happening in the current market as those interest rates drop. All
right. Great analysis. What about you, Brian?
You know, you mentioned it. I think mortgage rates have already priced in this anticipated adjustment to the Fed rate potentially in September. I don't know that mortgage rates are going to move tremendously. Maybe if inflation continues to change, there's obviously a lot going on right now. But I think we want to keep in mind who we work with. And primarily, you know, interest rates affect our buyers, of course. We've always been clear, there's always buyers in the market. It's a matter of what are we doing as investors to make sure that the property we put out for that market is priced right to move quickly so that those few buyers that have to move, they need a roof over their head, are going to work with us versus someone else. And that goes back to us making the right offer, working on the right deals, no matter what the interest rates are. So for instance, I mentioned this last time, we've seen a lot more subject to and creative deals come our way over the past year and a half, because there are folks that, hey, I can't move my property. I can't hardly afford to buy something. I've been sitting on the sidelines this whole time. Nothing's moved. You know, again, I need to move for a job. We've got a divorce going on, whatever the case may be. They have to do something. And we're who they come to when they're outside of the traditional box. So again, I think we benefit no matter what the rates do. It was interesting, a comment that one of the folks on live just made, that some of these, the big beautiful bill, some of these changes may benefit more investors and even commercial investors than anything. But we exist in this realm where we stick to the fundamentals. We work with the people we know we can help. We buy right. We know how to sell right. No matter, high rates, low rates, we know how to get deals done and be profitable. And I think that's what sets us apart.
Yeah, and I think too, with the interest rates having not changed all that much, every little change seems to get a few more buyers off the fence. For our students, there were quite a few deals that went under contract as soon as the rates came down, just a smidgen.
Yeah.
And so some of those deals that we knew were priced right, but seemed to, we didn't have that offer yet. So I do think that the little changes sometimes they do help. And I'll say this too. And there's a great question that I'm going to pull up on the screen in just a moment along these lines. But as long as you stay in the game, when changes occur, typically they benefit you.
Yeah.
We benefited dramatically during COVID. And it's not because we were preparing for what happened. We didn't know it was going to happen. We just were in the game. And so when you're in the game, you got deals on the market, and then the rates drop just a smidgen, boom, offers come in. I want to jump to this question here, and then I want to go into a fun topic on just the differences across the country, because you're in the Northeast, Devin, and prices have definitely climbed. I'm in Florida, prices have come down. And so we'll talk about that. But this question right here, I love. I love it because it's real. Any tips for handling the intense disappointment and emotional roller coaster of this business? Whoever wrote this, that was so well articulated. Especially when deals fall apart, sellers are ghosting, and leads aren't converting. Okay, y'all have heard me say this. Real estate is a business of big paydays and long pay delays. And to add to that is the idea that you have the expectation that a big deal's about to close, and then it doesn't. So, Brian, we'll start with you. How do you overcome, or how do you deal with the emotional roller coaster of a big deal that doesn't close?
That's tough, and I've been there. One thing that comes to mind, don't prematurely go full-time in this business. That's, I think, a very important one, because I did that early on, and I know what it's like to be backed into the corner. You need this to close. By the way, you wear that on your face. Everyone in the deal knows you need this to close, and you're desperate, and that's when they're going to come after you at the closing table. So I think one thing is, we've always impressed upon our apprentices. I think you have a video that makes it very clear. Don't go full time until you're ready. You want to grow into doing this business, because, and even folks that are getting started that are maybe, putting stuff on a credit card and, oh man, can I do that? Or they're working out of their savings and it's almost gone. But if you don't have regular income from a job, oh man, yeah, you can get in a bad position real fast. So I think that's one of the things. Make sure you're in a position, you're here to grow a business. This isn't the lottery. You're not just, buying a ticket and hoping the best. This is a real business. You want to make sure you approach it like a business and develop it so that you're in a position where, hey, there's going to be ups and downs. That's just part of developing a business. If this was easy and everyone could do it, you'd have too much competition and you wouldn't make any money. So I think that's one of the points. Another one that I'll point out is I had an apprentice on one of my group calls just the other day, and he was kind of letting me know how it went with this conversation he had with the seller. Seller wasn't really happy about the situation, things that are kind of outside everyone's control. And, I listened to it, and then I responded, and he said, how do you maintain your cool? How do you just do you ever lose your patience? And what I pointed out is, what? It's very interesting. When you're in a deal, it is that emotional roller coaster. We all do that. On the deals we work on, we reach out to each other because, hey, I'm in this. I can't fully separate my emotions from it. That's just being human. But when you're working with a mentor, someone that is a step removed, we can be objective. We can guide you through and kind of be this calming influence throughout, because it's not to say we don't care about your deal. We do. We want you to make money. We make money when you make money, right? According to our splits. But we're able to guide you through it and keep you on the right track, and keep your expectation where it should be, and help you to focus on the big picture, right? This isn't one deal and we're going to retire. This is a business you're building. And I think when I was a student, this was many moons ago, one of the things that stuck with me that had me just absolutely dive in is, Phil, you shared on a group call that, you know what, we're not trying to just teach you how to do a deal. We're trying to teach you how to consistently do deals. And that's what I needed. I needed consistent income to change my future, and it absolutely did. So those are the few things that come to mind.
Man, that is beautiful. See, great questions create fantastic answers. Devin, let's go to you, because this you've been a full-time real estate investor for a long time. If anybody, us three, we know what this person's saying. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I look at that question, which is an amazing question, I think how you mentally overcome the disappointments and the emotional roller coasters is, I always keep track of what I spent on leads, what systems I'm using to generate the leads, and then what my profit is at the end of the year, right? And you understand as a seasoned real estate investor that at the end of the year, that's what matters. So you can talk to 20 motivated sellers and not one deal closes. And then you get 2 or 3 in a row, and all of a sudden you got 3 deals under contract, right? You can't get married to the outcome of each conversation. You look at it from a year perspective. And what people don't realize is that 2 to 5 deals a year is a good amount of deals, right? There's a lot of things that are like 10 deals a month, and that's great. And you can scale to that, but 2, 3, 4, 5 good deals a year can bring in an extra 180, 300, 350, right? And that's the reality. I mean, I'll probably do 5 or 6 deals this year, and I'm going to make really good income off of those deals. And that's what people have to understand is you have to look at it from a year perspective, and you have to realize that your next deal might be $100,000 deal. It may be a $75,000 deal. That's how you eliminate this emotional roller coaster. And by what Brian said, by having a full-time job, you're not always needing to close a deal. When you need to close a deal, the seller knows it. Everybody knows it. When you can say, you know what, like the best advice, Phil, that you gave me is you have to have the ability to walk away from a deal. When you have that ability, you're going to do more deals.
Yeah. And it's what's so interesting is that the message that people love to resonate with is that by becoming a full-time real estate investor, they've removed the alarm clock, they've quit their job, and as y'all have mentioned, you've got to have things dialed in. My grandfather told me this piece of advice. My mentor told me this piece of advice. You got to have a lot of irons in the fire. So my answer to this question is, if you have a lot of different productive activities going on, so maybe you do have a full-time job, and that does eat up a big portion of your day, and you've got family responsibilities and those sorts of things, you don't have time to stress over one deal. My mentor used to always give me the analogy of like the penguin nursing the one egg, sitting on the one egg. And if it's a dead egg, well, boy, it's a huge waste of time. You have got to have a lot of irons in the fire. It's this magical formula that eliminates so many stresses because you've got so much going on. When one deal's not working out, you naturally have that walkaway power because you're not so married to that one deal because you got 7 more, right? And so when you have a lot of irons in the fire, you can eliminate so much of that. Now, as you're pointing out, Devin, you're talking about 3 to 5 deals. You're talking about at the end of the line closing. And sometimes we also refer to it as cherry picking. One of our students closed a deal today, made over $98,000. We were getting the final numbers. Brian and I were going back and forth on the final profit this afternoon. Okay, you may want to do a bunch of deals that make $3,000 per deal. That apprentice, he likes to do big deals. or otherwise focus on his other business that he has, which is as a contractor. And so he's a very successful one. And so, yeah, you have a lot of irons in the fire. It doesn't always have to be house flipping. It could be your career. Devin, you, Brian, myself, we also own quite a bit of rental property. So that does, and there, I saw somebody send a message one time. They said, there's nothing passive about rental real estate. Well, my first thought was he had bad management, but there is a little bit of management, even if you've got great management. And so, yeah, you have a lot of irons in the fire, different places where money's coming from. And then I'm going to add this last thing. It's this. You need mentorship. You need advisors. You need someone that you can bounce ideas off of. Because if it's just you, you're going to miss things. You're going to see what looks like an absolute emergency. Someone else is going to see as an opportunity. So we have this brain trust here, us three and the rest of our team. And we bounce ideas off of each other when things are problematic, and it's magical, and you get many different great minds together, and they can solve big problems and turn them into huge opportunities. And for some of you that are trying to do this on your own, you will have these intense disappointments. You will have these emotional roller coasters, and you won't have any foundation for someone outside of you to look at the situation and bring some grounding. And so when our apprentice was concerned about a deal, and he reaches out to our coaching team, and he gets grounded by Brian. Brian, of course, has such a soothing voice. Y'all are hearing that, but he's so balanced because he doesn't look at emergencies as problems. He looks at them as opportunities. So absolutely phenomenal question. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Again, text us if you've got a question. And so actually I had one more thing I wanted to add. I saw someone put on there that they're here from they're on here from Alabama. So one of the great lessons I've learned from watching my favorite sport, college football, is what the former coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, would teach his players. And that is not to focus on the scoreboard, but to focus on the actions in each play that are going to produce the best results. So in order to have a lot of irons in the fire, you need to be focusing on getting irons in the fire. Focusing on your marketing, focusing on connecting directly with sellers, focusing on putting deals together, focusing on those actions. And then when the closings come, they're good, but you're not a part of the emotional roller coaster because it's just the natural result of focusing not on the scoreboard, but focusing on your actions. And again, that comes straight from Nick Saban because that's what he taught his players. He has a great 60 Minutes episode on that. And I think it's really made a big impact on our real estate investors in our group because we've taught them that message. Do not focus on the scoreboard. Focus on those actions that produce the results of the scoreboard, and you focus on that, and the scoreboard's going to come. All right, so there's my little shout out to Hunter in Alabama. All right, so let's get to the next topic, which I think is really exciting, and that is the dichotomy here across the United States. Devin, you're in the Northeast. What's happening with real estate prices up there?
The prices are strong. If you're a seller, there's a lot of buyers, especially as things are shaking up with interest rates. If you price your property appropriately, you're going to get a good number. You're going to get multiple offers. As you know, Phil, I had 2 flips on the market. Both had multiple offers within the last 3 weeks. So the market's strong, especially when you price it right. And one of the things that we teach here is you price the property right, and the market will drive it to its value. The flip that's under contract right now, we priced it at $350. I knew it was probably worth $375. If I listed at $375, I probably would have not gotten the higher number that we got. Now we have an offer for $405 with $10K back for closing costs and prepaid expenses, so $395, right? So in the Northeast, the market's strong. Or like I said, it's an older inventory. There's not as much development. There's not as much new construction. Mm-hmm. So as a seller up here in the Northeast, things are good.
Yeah. I read an article today, and I believe the data was coming from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the statistics on year-over-year price appreciation were shocking. Ready for this? The fastest or the largest increase in year-over-year single-family home values, Rochester, New York. There you go, right? So all of us in Florida and Texas and Arizona and California that think we live in such a great state with wonderful weather and all this, well, look who's laughing now as they're digging out of the snow, right? They got the 10% appreciation rate. You're right. What's happened is there hasn't been a lot of building in so many parts of the Northeast, but not just the Northeast, other parts of the country too. The places where people left from COVID, the places where people thought were less desirable, they're having huge gains right now. And meanwhile, Florida had a net loss. They were less than 0% on their year-over-year appreciation, which definitely took a lot of investors by surprise. This is why when we teach our apprentices is that at all times in the marketplace, we're always conservative if we're going to get on title. Now, obviously, if we're flipping the property before we get on title, there's less risk. It doesn't matter. But if we're going to get on title, we're going to do a rehab, you've got to be careful because even places like Florida could have complete changes in the values in almost like out of nowhere. I mean, look, we have interest rates at 6.5% or 7%, and yet Rochester, New York went up by 10%. It's possible, right? And our folks in that neck of the woods have been living large and in charge. They're loving it. Brian, what are you seeing from different parts of the country? What are some interesting things you're noticing?
Well, I'll say in my own market, Dallas-Fort Worth, the inventory has certainly grown some. There are pockets that are slowing down and have slowed down. There are other pockets that are moving just fine. So, and of course, Dallas-Fort Worth is probably bigger than Rhode Island. So I don't know, Devin, you'll have to compare with me there. But I think it comes back to getting to know what's going on in your market. I've got a video that'll be out pretty soon talking about fix it or flip it. And what we're really focused on is when we buy right, well, we can sell. We can decide whether we want to fix. We can decide whether we want to flip. Because we're buying in a position that we adjust to the market. We also don't get in these crazy long deals where if inventories grow, we're stuck. The rehab takes 6 months and the market's looking different. Rates have changed, whatever that may be. So when it comes to our apprentices, though, we have, I think a lot of what you mentioned earlier, we have some students where they've had it on the market. They know they're priced right. They're not getting as much volume of showings. People have more to choose from, so they're not moving as quickly. But I've not seen a lot of our apprentices need to drop their price because, again, we study that. We look at the MLS comps. We know where we need to be. You guys had a video recently just really digging in, and one of the key points there is get the MLS data. Don't try to go to your free resource and think you're going to get it right. When the market's sky high, you can make mistakes and still make money. When things have tightened up as it is, it's what you mentioned on the last question. Let's get back to the fundamentals. That's what we focus on each and every time, and it's why we always have good results. So back to your question, different parts of the country, definitely experiencing more of what you are in Florida. Here in my market, we're seeing that a lot more in the South. But again, I think it comes down to the local market, and that's what you have to get to know wherever you're doing business. That's what we help our apprentices do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So continue text your questions in, and I'd love to hear just in the chat your feedback on what's going on in your market. We have an entire nation of apprentices that we work with on a daily basis. We're looking at their deals, evaluating comps, figuring out the best strategies for their deals. My favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, is predicting final sales price. I love it. And if y'all watched the recent video of Devin and I, we're breaking down one of his deals. You could see I even get excited about it. Like I'm not a gambler, but I sure love being right. I love being able to predict, okay, this is what it's going to sell for. And especially fun about that is when one of our apprentices goes, "How did you do that, Phil? I mean, I must have spent 3 days studying for it. You looked at it for like 10 minutes and you nailed it down to the penny." And so, going through all that, we see a lot of what's going on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you're seeing out there. So put that in the chat. All right, gentlemen, this is a question we get all of the time, and it's a great question. So I want to bring it back to the forefront. And it's, what niche, what strategy, what angle, what way of investing in real estate is best for a beginner? Start with you, Devin.
I always say what's best for a beginner is you focus on getting in and out of deals quickly, right?
Mhm.
Don't get involved in large rehab projects. You don't have the skill set, you don't have the team, you don't have the money to carry a property that long. So your first thing that you want to focus on is getting in and out of deals quickly, even if you're making less, because it's important for you to create cash flow and create cash rather than try to predict. The longer a project goes out, right, that market cycle is changing every 3 months, 2 months, 4 months, right? So what you think the ARV value is today may be a lot for when you're further down the road, might have changed drastically. And that's why I see a lot of people get into trouble, because they're getting into deals, one, that take way too long to complete, and two, they don't have the experience to do a deal of that size. So my recommendation for somebody getting into real estate is you want to get in and out of deals, get acclimated with more and more deals, create profits, roll the profits into more marketing, and keep rinsing and repeating early on.
Absolutely. So, Brian, how does someone do that, though? I mean, let's put some meat on those bones. How does someone get in and out of a deal as opposed to avoiding a rehab?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's, as we said, knowing your market, knowing what you're looking for. When it comes to a niche, one of the things you got to keep in mind, there may be niches, things you enjoy or want to do. The market, doesn't care about your niche. It doesn't care about your income. The market has needs, and the people we work with are motivated sellers who have a problem. I think that's always the common denominator we're looking for. So, you may have certain preferences, but I've told students before that unfortunately we will never have the problem of, well, what do I do with all these motivated sellers? No, that's not how it works. If you have that problem, it's because you don't know what a motivated seller is, right?
Yeah.
But we, as you taught us, we know how to build a better magnet and suck those needles out of the haystack. And so we adjust to who we're working with first and foremost, whatever niche that may be. And again, that goes back to, do you have the right training, the right mentors to guide you through? Maybe you're running into a niche you really don't know. Again, back to competence and confidence, you better have the right mentors, right? But when you go in, we make offers that make sense, right? We know how to get in and assess. One of the things we talk about a lot on my calls, making offers in good faith, and what's the process for doing that, where I don't have to get out my crystal ball and memorize, understand everything that's going to happen. I need to understand the big picture. I need to understand first and foremost, there's motivation. Can I get into this deal, solve the seller's problem, position myself to be profitable as well? That's the win-win we're looking for. And what Devin mentioned, we're not looking to only rely on a huge rehab to add value. And again, that's what a lot of people do. They don't know how else to add value because they may not be working with a motivated seller. And so when we buy right, we have the option to get in and out, to take the quick nickel instead of being married to the slow dime where we don't make any money. So buying right is critical. Obviously, finding the right deals, negotiating the right deals, whatever niche that may be. Once you have a lot more coming your way, then you can kind of pick your niche. But I think, again, that's the key, is let's make sure we're finding the right deals, negotiating the right offers.
But Phil, to add to that, people think of, oh, I just want to do sub twos, right? Like they're niches. Like when you are taught the skill set that we have, your skill set then becomes a tool belt to provide a seller. Maybe it is a sub two. Maybe it is an assignment of contract. Maybe it is a fix and flip where it's a large rehab. Maybe it is, an A to C closing or a back-to-back closing, right? Like however, the way we can skin the cat to do a deal, we will present that tool to the seller to help them out of whatever situation they're in. So you don't have to just get focused on one niche within doing a deal. You have to have the different tool belts to be able to present to a seller so that you can profit from that deal.
That is so important. Everyone who is getting started needs to understand this fundamental point. You cannot be a one-trick pony, especially if you're a beginner. So if you are incredibly experienced, you might be able to survive on just doing wholesales or just doing sub-twos or just doing tax lien or tax deed investing or just doing just one niche. You might be able to get away with that. As a beginner, you need to be able to turn every opportunity into something, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to skip certain steps. You can't afford to be a one-track investor. I hear so often. I mean, literally, I get all kinds of like texts and chats and from people that say, "Hey, I'm just getting started, Phil. My understanding I should start with wholesaling." And I literally direct them to a video on why beginners should not start with wholesaling, the difficulties of wholesaling. It's difficult to find a deal at 65, 60 cents, 70 cents on the dollar, and then flip it to an investor who's going to give you some money. That does happen, but more often than not, a beginner's not going to pull that off. It's just not going to happen. So a beginner has to be a Swiss Army knife as it relates to the different options for that motivated seller. So for those of you that are thinking of starting in a niche, you literally have to start the opposite. You have to start knowing all the different angles, which obviously you're not going to do as a beginner, but that's where a mentorship comes into play. And then that way, even from the beginning, the first lead that comes through, right? If all you have in your tool belt is just a hammer, just a wholesale hammer, I got news for you. There won't be that many nails, just not that many. But if you come in with every single tool, it doesn't matter if it's a nail, if it's a screw, if it's a bolt, it doesn't matter what it is, you got a way to potentially make money with that. So beginners, that's there's been a lot of great wisdom that our team has shared. But if there's one thing, please don't forget, you can't be a one-trick pony if you're a beginner. You have to start with all of the different options at your disposal because you can't afford not to. Great question. So glad that was brought up. Look, there's been some questions about rental property, and I want to make sure we get some time to discuss that. But first, we had a question here I'm going to put on here. This person's been holding some rental properties for 4 years and want to know the best way to sell because he hates paying the 6% commission. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, and my team member, Stephanie, can post this. Best way to sell a house, best way to sell any house fast. We call it the Freedom Mentor way. We have a specific formula, and I share exactly how you do it on YouTube for free, exactly how to do it using a flat fee listing service. Now, the problem is if you don't know what you're doing, the flat fee listing service won't save you any money. You have to know what you're doing, and then that's how you sell the property fast. Sounds like you've got 14 rentals. Hopefully from that video, you could kind of figure that piece out, could kind of piece through what you're supposed to do. But you follow the Freedom Mentor way, you're going to be able to sell that house fast. But for those that don't want to sell their rentals, for those that want to acquire rental property, Devin, where are investors getting the most cash flow, the most appreciation? Where's it at with rentals right now?
Yeah, I mean, as I've talked about in many other videos, as a real estate investor, you got to create income from somewhere, right? So whether your job, doing fix and flips, like you creating income is the number one thing that I focus on. Then from there, then buying larger scale properties, right? Multifamily is always a very strong asset class to go after. It's in the commercial space. I mean, it is the last thing that somebody's willing to give up. You're seeing, rents continue to climb. You get the bonus depreciation. So you're getting the rents and you're getting the tax deduction. Multifamily affordable housing is really where I see the best place to be if you're going to hold rental property. But first, you have to create income. It gets a lot easier as you acquire more and more, create more and more income to buy more and more rental property.
What are your thoughts on that, Brian, on the subject of rental property? I think Devin even touched on a little bit, just earning income in real estate.
I think it's interesting. We did an interview recently with one of our graduates, and that's his specialty is he focuses on building a portfolio of properties to hold. We have other graduates that's the last thing they want to do. They want to flip properties and invest in multifamily or in short-term rentals or whatever that may be. So, there's going to be different flavors as to what people want to do to get that return on their cash. But I think it does begin with what Devin said. You need to learn to flip properties so that you have really what we referred to earlier, talking about, are you willing to walk away from a closing? I remember you shared one time, Phil, you need about $50,000 in the bank before you're going to walk away from a closing. Otherwise, you're probably dependent on that closing. So I think that's where to start is flip properties, gain experience. Don't get stuck in long deals that could cost you. If you're going to pick up rentals because it's going to cash flow really well. I had an apprentice just yesterday send me 3 different deals he's got. One of them will create about $500 a month in cash flow, the other $1,000. So he's being very selective. Is there enough juice to make the squeeze worthwhile if we're going to pursue this? And so I would be very selective in what you're going to hold. I prefer to flip, generate more cash, and then let's target those long-term holds that we really like, as Devin said, with commercial real estate.
It is definitely a surprise to a lot of beginners when they hear from long-term experienced investors that they're not always so enamored by rental property, that it is not quite as good as people would imagine it to be. It can be. It just has to be very, very selective. Because if you let's take a look at just quick math for a multifamily property that brings in $200 positive net cash flow per month. Think about how many of those you would need, how many units you would need in order to make $10,000 a month. Well, that's at least 50 units. In many parts of the country, the average price of a multifamily unit, a little 2-1, about $150,000. I don't have my calculator out, but we're talking about what? That's a pretty big purchase price, right? $150,000 times 50. I mean, that's $5 million. What's that? $7.5 million.
Yeah, $7.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, now we're talking about a typical down payment on that of maybe 25-30%. That's some big money just to get $10,000 a month. Now, yes, there's a lot of benefits to owning long-term rentals, but what if you just did one flip every 2 months and you made 30 or 40,000, right? Yeah. So we don't need to always be so in a rush to jump to rental properties, because all you got to do is go to the eviction court in your local community to see how many landlords are trying to get out of owning rental property. But yes, rental property has some tremendous benefits, but you got to just pick out the absolute diamonds. So our model has always been do as many of the short-term creative deals as you possibly can. And then meanwhile, always be looking for those trophy rental properties, which right now, as Devin mentioned, multifamily is really where it's at. I think short-term rentals, I can't find any places where they actually make much money anymore. And the places that were the sweetest honey holes, even those have sealed up because of new law changes. And because basically the governments that didn't outlaw vacation rentals, what they did is they just found a way to charge more in taxes. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So insurance is skyrocketed for vacation rentals. I mean, so many things have changed that rip a lot of the cash flow out of there. But tried and true multifamily, you buy right, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be a 50 unit. I mean, it could be duplexes and triplexes and quads. Heck, some of our people do buy single family rentals, and they do work if they're in certain parts of the country. They like the fact that they do appreciate more if the market's going up. Now, I would argue that when you get into commercial, you can force the appreciation, and that's a better business deal. But either way, you've got to pick out the trophies and be selective. Don't be in a hurry. Be selective. And if you're working with the right mentors or you have a lot of experience, you're going to know the trophies from the non. And if you have to sit on the sidelines of picking up your next rental property for a year or two, that's okay. I love Warren Buffett's phrase on his investing strategy, and it was lethargy bordering on sloth, meaning real little slow to make that next purchase, right? That's where you want to be with rental property because as we tell sellers all the time, buying a house, or in this case, buying a rental property is kind of like going to jail. It's a whole lot easier to get in than to get out. So you get if you pick it out right, though, it's a magical formula. You get the depreciation benefits, as we've talked about. You get the cash flow, and you get the appreciation. Just looking at a deal that one of our people did, he had purchased the property just a little over 2 years ago. And he did make some improvements. This is a 10 unit. And he had paid something in the range of about $425 for it. And he got an appraisal at 1.3. All right. So yes, and he's cash flowing, and he got the appraisal because he's refining. And he's not going to pull out that much cash because he want to keep the cash flow going. So yes, you buy right, and it's just beautiful. You buy wrong with rental property, and you're gonna be like, man, I wish I was flipping. So I hope that helps for you all that are thinking through this rental subject. I think a lot of people are enamored by that subject, but then once they get in, if they don't get a trophy, they find out that rental property can be a lot of work. And as this person's mentioning here in the comments, he's actually having trouble selling his property, which partially could be due to the fact that it needs to get fixed up. The tenant gets moved out. You got to replace the floor coverings, the paint, and all that kind of stuff. All right, y'all. Well, we've just crossed the hour mark, and there's been a lot of great questions here tonight. And one thing we haven't touched on yet, and maybe we can wrap up with this, is the seasonality. You know, while we talk about these macroeconomic changes, whether it's a new tax bill or it's interest rates or it's AI, you know, real estate is also on a seasonality cycle. And you have in summer, most parts of the country, not necessarily Florida, you have a lot of transactions that take place in the summer because that's when people are moving. They're moving to different school districts, or these days, youth sports are so huge. Maybe they're moving to a new district to get a new coach or a new team. A lot of transactions happen in the summer. But the summer is officially over when the kids go to school. Now, in Florida, they've been in school for a couple of weeks. I know other parts of the country are different. So, Brian, what do you see in the fall in our business, in the seasonality side of things?
Well, historically, it always slows down. That's just the nature of the business. People move from that, we got to get it done, as you're saying, before the kids get back to school. Again, there's always buyers. There's always movement and activity. It just goes down. And so we've always focused on, as the winter months come along, this is when we need to ramp up our marketing, start really getting the pipeline primed, because you're going to have some folks that are sitting on the fence. They're going to make their decision after the first of the year. And so we want to always go into the beginning of the year primed to have a great spring and great summer. That being said, we're still doing deals all the time, because when the market's slowing down and inventory is up, that means there's sellers out there that can't sell, and they're now raising their hand and saying, I need what you do. Can you help me? And those are the folks that we work with as well. So we're doing deals all the time, but definitely things adjust when it comes this time fall each year.
What about you, Devin? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts have always been, people always ask, when's the best time to do a deal? The best time to do a deal is when a deal presents itself. Yeah. Right. That is the best time to do a deal. So, you hear from a lot of inexperienced investors, they wait for interest rates to drop. They wait for a certain time. Like, when should I jump in? You should always jump in, because when a deal presents itself, always do a deal. When you know how to buy the deal right, it doesn't matter some of the external factors that they really focus on. Right. I would agree that as you get past September, October, and sellers were unable to sell, that's a great time to have your marketing in the water, because people are like, what do we do? They're running into trouble. Their life situation isn't getting any better. July for us, where I am, is a down market because you have the 4th of July. I live near the ocean. A lot of people are traveling, but now August is a really busy market, right? For around here. So you have to remember, you have to think a lot differently as a seasoned investor, that do a deal when a deal presents itself. From that October timeframe through that March timeframe, that is a nice sweet spot to have your marketing just cranking. to get deals done.
Absolutely. I almost every year as a real estate investor, I find myself meeting with a seller on Halloween while the kids are out there. And it's because as you get into fall, I love your point, Devin. The people that didn't sell during the summer, they start to panic. They're like, uh-oh, because their agents will tell them that. Their agents are like, we should have sold this thing during August. Or kind of missed the window here. And they're like, what do you mean we missed the window? You're my agent. You were supposed to sell this thing. And so they start to panic a little bit. And so what we have always taught our apprentices is what y'all have been saying. Crank up your marketing. This is the time to really focus on picking up deals. And even if you don't get the deal under contract right away, it's going to marinate. September turns into October, turns into the holidays. And at that time, well, agents just tell their clients, don't even put the property on the market. Nobody's buying. Now, of course, people are always buying, which is what we see. So the idea is the more you lean into finding deals during the fall, the better it's going to be. I've always felt like the fall is such a great time to do deals, and especially as it gets into the holidays. Now in Florida, as we hit the beginning of January, that's when all the snowbirds flock down here, and all of a sudden the market heats up, and you've got to have deals, right? You've got to have your inventory, because here come all the Canadians and all the people with money and just looking to buy something down here. And so, I hope y'all get excited about the seasonality, because I think now is the perfect time. If you're just getting started, this is when you get with your mentoring team, get things going. So as this fall develops and you get deeper into the holiday season, that's when you're going to be picking up a whole lot more deals. Absolutely. So we've been talking about that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying, absolutely. I mean, you're so right, because when we talk to people that have always thought about getting into real estate, they always let the excuses hold them back from getting in. Yeah. Oh, the interest rates are too high. Oh, now the interest rates are too low. Oh, it's not a good market. It is too good of a market, right? So when do you jump in? And the reality is, the reason what makes us so good at what we do and what we teach our students is that when you know how to buy the deals right and you have the right tools for each deal, you will always get deals done. Always. Yeah.
So I just scanned a couple of questions that came up when the registration came through, and it's something we haven't talked about yet. So maybe we end with this one, and it's the subject of money. So someone asks, are there grants for real estate? And I think the question really behind that is, how do I get money from other people? And then the other person said, can you really buy real estate without money? Now, we're not going to go through an entire dissection of that topic in totality, but we can touch on a couple of key points about that. So, Brian, how do people do deals even if they don't have big down payments or no down payments?
I'd start by saying, what sets us apart is what we can do to add value to a deal to get one done. So first and foremost, you need the right training. You need the right know-how, what Devin mentioned earlier, the right tools in the toolbox to be able to solve problems. So the question of, can I do this without any money? Well, if you're trying to jump on MLS and do a traditional investment deal, no, that's not going to work. If you're able to identify motivated sellers, you're able to present creative offers, solve people's problems, absolutely you can do it. And in some cases, you get paid to take over their problem. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where you start. You have to have, as we said earlier, a wide array of skills so that you have the ability to solve people's problems and add value.
Brian, we just did an interview with a graduate of our apprentice program. And again, a graduate, y'all, is somebody that's made over $500,000 in net profit with us. And we asked her, we said, what's your most memorable deal? And she goes, well, that's easy. That's the seller that paid me $40,000 to take his house. That's true story, y'all. $40,000 to take his house. He gave it to her. And oh, by the way, here's $40,000. This is how bad I want out of my house.
Well, to add in there, Phil, if you remember, she said actually another investor he had talked to wanted him to pay $100. So 40
Right.
was a bargain, and she made she was
Right.
happy
Yeah.
to
So
go
he
for
thought
40.
he was ripping her off. Yeah, that is the best part. Yeah, good call. Devin, what are your thoughts on this subject of money and doing real estate?
I think what not a lot of people talk about, Phil, is yes, there are different techniques that you can use to do deals without your own money. What nobody else talks about is the money you need to get to the deals, right? So you should absolutely have money for marketing, because the rubber meets the road when you have the right marketing in place to attract motivated sellers.
Yeah.
From there, getting a good deal under contract does not cost you anything. Knowing
Right.
what to do once a good deal is under contract is where you can make money without having to put your own money into the deal. So this is a business, and I want people to really understand this. This is a business. You need marketing money, not a lot, but you do need marketing money to get to your first deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So that distinction that Devin and Brian are talking about is this is when you're working directly with an off-market seller. If you're hiring a real estate agent to help you identify an on-market listing or foreclosure, you're going to need money. There's just no way around that.
Yeah.
When you're working directly with sellers, you can structure deals that may not require money, or in the case of our graduate, she got 40,000. I want to add to this discussion something so important about real estate, which is unique and different than a lot of other businesses. So my 11-year-old son has really gotten into trading soccer cards, and he went to some card show the other day, and he sold one of his Lionel Messi cards for like $1,400. He's a wheeler dealer. He's a better negotiator than I am. And this kid's 11, right? So he's like, Dad, I need to set up a bank account. He hands me, like $1,600 the other day. He's like, come on, Dad, I need a bank account. So he has to own that Lionel Messi soccer card. He has to own it. And in fact, he got it graded, and when he got signed, he has to have full possession of it. He has to have an authentication certificate that he owns that card. And that's what gives him the right to sell that card to this card dealer. In so many other things in life, you have to own it before you can sell it. Real estate, what you need is a contract. As soon as you have this piece of paper that has the signature of the seller that they're willing to sell, and the signature of you that you're willing to buy, and you have the correct terms that make it a bona fide contract, at the moment you have that piece of paper can be worth $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 before you've ever put any money into the property. Well, okay, you might need to give the seller $1 earnest money. If you're in Louisiana, you don't have to. Okay, but we're talking about essentially no money, a piece of paper. That's where the value is created. But what Devin is sharing with you is to get to the point where you have $100,000 piece of paper, you need to know what you're doing. You need to have spent some money to find that person. You need to have spent some money on your education and your training to know what to say to that person, to have the right contract, to be able to communicate the terms of that contract, to be able to do that deal. When you have that wisdom, when you know what to do, then yes, you can make a lot of money in real estate without, quote, putting money down. But I'll tell you this too, and Devin, this is something we talked about on a more recent deal you just did. When you can build up to the point where you have money, not only for marketing, but you've got enough money to put into giving sellers some money to move out, the number of deals you can do just grows exponentially. Sometimes a seller just needs $10,000, just $10,000. You get that $10,000 of them, they move out, and you have a deal you can make $50,000, $100,000 on.
Absolutely.
So, I love the topic. As far as grants, I have run through that subject so many times, and it's so insanely rare. And anytime you get money from the government, assuming you can get money from the government, it comes with a lot of strings attached. Focus on doing private deals directly with sellers. Avoid getting the government involved. Usually it's a local government agency. It's miserable. It takes 12, 18 months. You never get the money, and it's a new administration gets elected. And next thing you know, all that time has been wasted. I can't tell you the number of stories that come through on that. In fact, one of my family members working on some massive deal with some tax credits and did it for 2 years, spent over $200,000 in due diligence and nothing, goose egg. I told him from the beginning, don't do it, waste of your time. But look, if you want to waste your time, work with the government. It's a good way to do it. Well, we have covered probably more than y'all expected. I hope you had a great time tonight. I hope you've been inspired by the idea that you can absolutely be a successful real estate investor in today's market. Oh, but there is a catch. You need to know what you're doing. The shortcut to knowing what you're doing is what we've been preaching this entire time, and that is getting a mentor. All of us have had mentors. Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. There isn't a successful person out there that hasn't had coaches and mentors. Okay, if you want a hobby, you don't need mentorship. If you want to make something profitable, a profession, you need a coach. You need a mentor. Now, that's what we do. Obviously, we're a little bit biased from the perspective of that's what we sell, that's what we offer. But you know what? It's the truth. There is no great endeavor that you don't need help or coaching to accomplish. I get coaches on all kinds of things. It is such the shortcut to getting more things done. I mean, you have a short life. All right, life is short. Don't learn all these lessons the hard way. This could take you 40 years, and you may never get there. Take the shortcut. Work with mentors, and that's what we offer at freedommentor.com/apprentice. That might be there in the comments, as you can see. You can go to our website, freedommentor.com. You can check out our apprentice program, and we have helped an enormous amount of people become incredibly successful. They're scattered all across the United States, and they quietly go about the process. A couple of them are on TV, but most of them quietly go about the process of doing this business and having a great life. And you can meet those people. Go to our website, check out the Inspiring Stories tab. You can meet them. You can hear it from their own words. You can hear the troubles and the challenges they went through. You can tell the way we communicate, y'all. We give you the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not easy. It's not simple. But when you have the right team behind you, you can do it. And it's life transforming. So check out the Freedom Mentor Apprentice Program. If you want to take your real estate endeavors to an entirely different level, we're the team that can help you. We'll get you where you want to go. And so thank you so much for being here tonight. Brian, thank you so much for taking out time to be with us.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun.
Devin, you as well, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil. It's always fun.
Absolutely. And you can tell y'all we talk every day. So this is pretty much old hat. We could do this in our sleep, and we love it. We're passionate about it. I love helping people become successful in real estate. Someone asked me the other day, he said, Phil, you're so excited. It almost feels fake. And I'm like, look, my nickname in high school was Intense Phil. I mean, this is me. This is me all the time. You can ask my wife. It's always like this. So, so thank y'all so much for being here with us. Check out the Freedom Mentor Apprentice Program. You know, we're going to stick around afterwards for about 10 minutes. So if you have any follow-up questions, text us those questions, and we'll try to get those answered for you. And thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Freedom Mentor Live. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Get mentored by me and my team by applying to be my next apprentice.
You need a coach. You just need, if you're going to be an Olympic athlete, you want to achieve anything high level, you have to have coaches. Freedom Mentor was the vehicle that we used to change our whole life. We have something truly unique, and we haven't run into anyone else that knows what we know. And even when we tell them what we're doing, they can't figure it out.
You know, it was this engagement. I have questions. Okay, I'm going to engage with Phil and Brian. I'm getting honest feedback and getting one-on-one time. I'm getting the attention that I needed to feel confident in taking those next steps and executing on a property. You want to see people in the program succeed, and there's no holdback there. And to me, that was very obvious. for us, it's been life-changing, hands down. Couldn't even think about not doing this, right? And what a missed opportunity if I had not done it.
When you're learning things that nobody else knows, you know that you have an edge, right? And you're going to do something that other people can't do. I still use a lot of his kind of negotiating tactics. Some of the things that he would say, I still use those to this day that he coached me on 5 years ago. Once I sold that and I got that check, a light bulb really went off. Like, hey, this works. This is not hocus pocus. This is the real deal. Freedom Mentor was probably one of the biggest blessings I've had in my life. Being able to be linked up and going through the program.
Obviously, this organization knows what they're doing because we've learned so much from the pre-apprentice program, just the videos, reading through the contracts, and just going out and starting to try to do it.
I could ask my direct question, get a direct answer, and then that would be my marching orders for the day. This is the best product that I've found, and I've seen a lot. If you're someone who wants to know that the people backing you know exactly what it is that they're doing and can answer every question, and that they have your back and they will get back to you, then this is where you need to be, because I don't know any other group that has that level of consistent support.
Jenna's a stay-at-home mom. We've actually recently had another baby, so Jenna's we're having to able to spend a lot of time with our new baby girl. We work from home, and I left my 9-to-5 job. Jenna's home with our baby. It's been awesome, and all because of Freedom Mentor and the level of trust and just the business that we've been able to build. There's a lot of opportunity. This is a very, very large country that we live in, and there is a lot of opportunity out there. Millions and millions of homes and properties that are going to be trading hands over the next few years. And why not you?
Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Get mentored by me and my team by applying to be my next apprentice.